start with breaking news coming in top of the hour. The centre has cleared the air on Netaji's death mystery. The centre has confirmed in an RTI reply that Netaji died in a plane crash in 1945. Deputy Executive Editor Saurav Sanyal is joining us with the very latest sort of big details indeed coming in this RTI reply, which of course confirms the centre's stand.
Well, that's right. In fact, this is the RTI reply which we have been able to access really, Uday. This is the RTI response that the government of India has put out to one Sayak Sen, who wanted to know as to what really happened to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. And let me just quickly draw your attention over here. It talks about the sequence of events, and here it goes on to say that some information about Gumnami Bamba and Bhagwanji available in Mukherjee Commission report on page numbers 114 to 122. This report is available at the Ministry of Home Affairs website. The Mukherjee Commission had come to the conclusion that Gumnami Baba alias Bhagwanji was not Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. It then further goes on to say that, considering the reports of the Shahnawaz Committee, Justice G.D. Khosla Commission and Justice Mukherjee Commission of Inquiry, the government has come to the conclusion that Netaji had died in the plane crash on 18th of August 1945. So this is the government's official stand now. The government of India putting an end to the speculation surrounding the last moments of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. The government of India now confirming that Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose died in the Taihuku air crash of 18th August 1945. But is this really the end of the mystery? That is something that we'll have to wait and watch, because we know that the government of India walked the talk and it went ahead with declassifying all the files pertaining to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, and that is also mentioned over here. While the declassification process was on, Netaji's family mounted a fresh demand, and they sent out a letter to the Prime Minister. In fact, as we speak, I'm getting reports that Surya Bose, grandnephew of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, did meet Prime Minister Modi in Berlin yesterday. That meeting happened yesterday in Berlin, and what transpired really in that meeting is we still do not know, but the fact that the two met yesterday in Berlin, that in itself is a very, very telling comment. But also, leaving that aside, Netaji's family members believe that the mystery surrounding Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose is still not out, and they are disputing this. We have already spoken with grandnephew of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, Chandra Kumar Bose, who is essentially now a member of the BJP as well. But he maintained that this is nothing but an error of judgment on the part of a bureaucrat. In fact, we are expecting that we'll be joined shortly by Chandra Bose himself on this broadcast. But the fact of the matter as it stays now, the Justice Mukherjee Commission had, however, said that Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose did not die in that air crash, but there were the two other commissions, the Justice Khosla Commission as well as the other commission, the Shahnawaz Committee, which went on to conclude at that point in time that Netaji had indeed died in the Taihuku air crash. But remember that there has been, a lot of controversy surrounding this particular plane crash, because this plane crash theory has been completely debunked.
Yeah, just stay with us, because we can get a quick reaction from Chitra Ghosh. Would you like to take a quick reaction from Chitra Ghosh, who is live with us, kin of Netaji?
Well, that's right. In fact, Chitra Ghosh is one of the oldest surviving members of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose's family, Netaji's grandniece there. Ma'am, how do you respond to this RTI query now? The RTI query coming in from the government of India says that Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose died in the Taihuku air crash. Well, Uday, we seem to have lost that line with Chitra Ghosh there. We'll try and reconnect once again. But Uday, as I was pointing out, that clearly this has put to rest the speculation surrounding Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. Once again, I would like to hold up this RTI query, this response to the RTI, where the government of India maintains that, yes, Netaji did die in the Taihuku air crash. But remember, there has been a lot of confusion over Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, and it kicked up a lot of storm, because we heard Netaji's family members completely debunking the air crash theory, but and they had called it a Congress conspiracy at that point in time. But now we see that with the NDA at the center, the NDA too seems to be echoing the same line, or towing the same line which the Congress did, claiming that Netaji indeed had died in the Taihuku air crash.
Indeed, and of course the big question after this really will be, is this sort of the end of the Netaji death mystery, or will the family demand further proof? Will the family demand more answers from the government of the day? Because remember, the UP had maintained this all along. Now with the NDA also clarifying its stand, Is this the end of the Netaji death mystery, Saurabh?
Well, that is the big question, really, Uday, because is this then the end, or is this opening up yet another front? Because we have seen that in the past as well, whether it was the Shahnawaz Committee or Justice Khosla Commission, they had concluded that Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose had died in the Taihuku air crash. But the Bose family is unwilling to buy that theory. In fact, as we speak, Uday, Chitra Ghosh joins us on the broadcast. Netaji's grandniece, they're one of the oldest living members of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose's family. Ma'am, how would you respond to this RTI query there, which says that Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose died in the Taihuku air crash of 1945?
Well, from the family, we are not yet certain that it really happened, and we would like a further inquiry. And on the basis of our belief and our ideas, I would say, we are requesting once again the Honorable Prime Minister to set up a SIT so that they can again thoroughly go into the problem and give a final answer to this question. Because it is true, we admit that many years have gone by, and as you know, as years go by, naturally it will be more and more difficult to get a final answer, because most of the people who were then involved with him and in many ways, either as his ADC or his secretary or whatever, or participants of the Azadin Fauj, they are practically all dead. Therefore, it is now we have to rely on committee reports, commission reports, and other related documents.
Ma'am, in the past again, as well, we have heard that how the Shahnawaz Committee and the Justice Khosla Commission, they came to the conclusion that Netaji had died in the Taihuku air crash. But that was something, a theory which you did not buy. The family was unwilling to buy that theory.
The family has not bought the decision, and therefore we are once again requesting the Honorable Prime Minister to set up a SIT to go into the question.
So you are requesting or appealing to the Prime Minister then on behalf of the Bose family to set up a special investigation team to probe Netaji's mystery. But ma'am, also Chitra Ghosh, if I could just draw your attention to the fact that this RTI response that we have accessed, that this RTI response clearly also talks of the Justice Mukherjee Commission. But the Justice Mukherjee Commission never concluded that Netaji died in the air crash.
No. The Mukherjee Commission also, and we would also like the Mukherjee Commission report should once again be placed in the Parliament. You see, when my brother Subrata Bose was talking on this particular report, he was cut short by Swaran Singh, who was then the Foreign Minister, and therefore we will once again request the government to put the report of the Mukherjee Commission on the tables of the Parliament.
In fact, Chitra Ghosh, I would request you to stay on with us because we're also joined on the phone line by Ardhendu Bose, Netaji's grandnephew. Mr. Bose, how would you react to this RTI response, which clearly seems to be towing what the Congress government in the past had done, concluding that Netaji died in the Taihuku air crash?
First of all, let me clarify, I am a nephew, not grandnephew. Okay, my father was Netaji's younger brother. Okay, now I've heard Chitra Ghosh, my elder sister, also, and I go by what she says, and she's absolutely correct. We don't accept this, and it's very upsetting for the family. This reply was given when the Prime Minister himself assured that not only in India the files overseas would be, they would try and have them declassified. Well, this Chitra Ghosh has said whatever I have to say. There's not much to say. Anything else you want to ask me?
And Mr. Bose, also the other issue is that the family, you have been maintaining for a long time that all the other files which are there in the possession of foreign countries also pertaining to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, they should be accessed because that might provide some leads into it.
Absolutely right. Now, the question is in our minds, in the minds of the family, that about a year ago, the Japanese government had made a statement, and this was stated by the Minister for Minister of State for External Affairs in the Parliament, saying that the Japanese government has agreed that out of the 3 or 4 files that they have, they will release one file in December 2016. You want to know what's happened to that? Obviously that file has not been released or declassified. And yes, it is true that we feel that there are files on Subhash Bose in Russia and Germany and other countries, and efforts should be made to have this declassified.
Also, the other issue is that we have heard the family consistently requesting to the Prime Minister, saying that the government must initiate the process of dialogue with other countries, including Russia, to try and see that whatever files are there pertaining to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, if that can be brought to the public domain.
Yes, the Prime Minister gave that assurance to us in the presence of Sushma Swaraj a year and a half ago when we visited number 7 Race Course, where the Prime Minister kindly invited us, the family, and hosted a meal for us. At that point in time, he assisted us, and Ms. Sushma Swaraj said yes, she'll be connecting with the governments overseas to have whatever files they have declassified. So basically, the family should given a response, a report to what happened to that. After all, we are concerned.
In fact, Mr. Bose, in wake of this RTI response, what would your next move be? Will you be writing to the Prime Minister afresh? Would you be seeking an appointment on behalf of the Bose family?
Yes, of course. I think my nephew, Chandra Kumar Bose, who is the Vice President of the BJP in Bengal, I think he's made a statement in Indian Express today that we will be approaching the Prime Minister on this issue. And again, requesting him to withdraw whatever reply was given to the RTI activists, so XN. And as Mrs. Chitra Ghosh has said, that table the Mukherjee Commission report in Parliament and accept it.
Mr. Bose, in this RTI response, the RTI response also talks about, it quotes from the Shahnawaz Committee, the Justice G.D. Khosla Commission, and Justice Mukherjee Commission of Inquiry, and then it goes on to say.
No. It hasn't quoted anything.
It refers to the 3 reports, and then it goes on to conclude that the government has come to the conclusion that Netaji had died in the plane crash. So what really changed in between? Because we have seen that the Justice Mukherjee Commission never for once stated that Netaji died in the air crash.
Exactly. So is that RTI reply given to the RTI activists, is it correct or is it incorrect? Because did that person who made that statement or replied to the RTI, has that person done his or her homework? Because yes, Shahnawaz Commission and the Khosla Commission, they said that they determined that it was the air crash which is the cause of Subhash Chandra Bose's death. But Mukherjee Commission has very clearly said that that's not the case. So how has it been quoted like this? I don't know, unless the press, of course, misquoted it. That I don't know.
In fact, we have that copy with us, sir, and it was an RTI request that was put in by one Sayak Sen, and the response has come in from the Ministry of Home Affairs. It also goes on to say that it has come to the conclusion that Gumnami Baba and Bhagwanji was not Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So at least one side of the mystery has been settled once and for all. But do you think that with this response coming in from the government of India now, is this then definitely a cause of worry for the Bose family? Because you have been time and again reiterating the fact that the air crash theory was absolute bogus.
So that reply about Gumnami Baba not being Subhash Chandra Bose has been preempted. No, the family does not accept that Gumnami Baba was Subhash Chandra Bose. However, having said that, there is a commission which is still in office in Lucknow. Justice, I forget his name now. Actually, I went and deposed before him also. He hasn't given his report. His commission is to determine whether Gumnami Baba was Subhash Chandra Bose or not, and his report is not out. So how did the government come to the conclusion? This commission was set up by the UP government during the time of Akhilesh Yadav. So how did they come to this conclusion?
So big questions there coming to the fore, sir. Request you to stay on with us. Let me also quickly bring in Chitra Ghosh once again. Ma'am, now your next course of action as far as this is concerned? You've already said that the family would be appealing for setting up of an SIT, and that appeal would go out to the Prime Minister. We also gather that there are some protests that are planned, including one in Jantar Mantar in the month of August.
Well, I'm not very sure about that, whether how many of us can go. Let us see wait. Well, we have also, as Mr. Netaji Bose told you, that we are trying to contact the Prime Minister through Chandra Bose, and let me see what happens, and then we shall decide our next course of action. And one thing I want to particularly emphasize, that Netaji does not belong to the family only. The entire nation wants the answer, and therefore, the government should do something about it. It's not only a question of the family. India has to know. The Indian nation must know what happened to him.
In fact, that is the big question, ma'am, that the nation must know. But through this response, do you feel that the government of India has literally jumped the gun and concluded that Netaji did die?
That is why the responsibility delves on the government, because he's a patriot of the nation, a supreme fighter who fought for India's independence. Therefore, why should not the government also do something about it? I'm sure the government will act.
Let me quickly bring in Mr. Chandra Kumar Bose, Netaji's grandnephew, joins us live from Kolkata at this point in time. Mr. Bose, your response to this RTI response that has come in, you have been at the forefront of organizing meetings on behalf of the entire Bose family with the Prime Minister. You had explained the family's point of view to the Prime Minister, after which the declassification drive essentially got an impetus. But today we see that this RTI response has come in, which says that Netaji died in the 1945 air crash.
Well, we are very surprised. It is a very irresponsible response against the RTI query. You see, the matter is not so simple. For the last 70 years, the mystery has been there. Documents have been suppressed. For the first time on the 23rd of January 2016, the NDA government, under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, started the process of declassification. But you see, declassification is the first step. What we have demanded from the central government, that a special investigative team must be formed, because the documents which are being released, no one really knows what are in those documents. They are being put up on the website at the National Archives. But where is the research team who would scrutinize the documents and submit a summary report? This is one angle, as far as the documents in India are concerned. What about the Russian angle? What about the Japanese angle? The plane crash theory has been debunked by the final commission's report, which is the Justice Mukherjee Commission's report. This RTI reply states the Shahnawaz Committee and the Khosla Commission, which were two bogus reports. They were absolutely fraudulent reports. They were engineered
fraudulent
by
reports.
the Nehru.
You are maintaining that, that is a theory that the family definitely is not wanting to buy, even at this point in time. But if I just draw your attention to this RTI response, that RTI response refers to both these reports. It talks about, and it says, and I quote, considering reports of the Shahnawaz Committee, Justice G.D. Khosla Commission and Justice Mukherjee Commission of Inquiry, the government has come to the conclusion that Netaji had died in the plane crash on 18th of August 1945. So while Justice Mukherjee never for once concluded that Netaji died in that air crash, the other two committee reports, be it the Khosla Committee or the Shahnawaz Committee, they had concluded, and now the government seems to have made up its mind and concluded that Netaji did die in that air crash.
On what basis? Without conclusive evidence, how can you establish a theory? We would be happy if conclusive evidence, clinching evidence is put forward by the government of India. Without clinching evidence, we cannot betray the nation. I think, you see, I am absolutely sure that the Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, is committed to solve the Netaji mystery. But we would like to ensure that whether the entire government machinery is on the same page with the Prime Minister of India.
Sir, you used a very strong word there. You called it a betrayal. So do you feel that the government of India has let down people who were waiting to know what really happened to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose? Is there then a sense of betrayal which is running high within the family?
Well, this RTI reply is certainly a betrayal because the government was committed, the Prime Minister was committed to solve this issue, and he has told us personally. But then, you know, as my aunt Chitra Ghosh has stated, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose does not belong to any family. He belongs to the nation. And we had gone to the Prime Minister as ambassadors of the people of this country. And that is the priority for me, to represent the people of India, to solve Netaji mystery. I think the NDA government must take this seriously. The time has come to resolve the issue. Let us not play games, because the Congress has played games for the last 70 years. It is Narendra Modi's time to create history by solving the mystery of the hero of Asia.
But sir, don't we now see that both the Congress government in the past and the NDA government at the present now, they are speaking exactly the same language. Both of them have now come to the conclusion, the NDA has now come to the conclusion, a conclusion which the Congress government had drawn at that point in time, that Netaji had died in the air crash. But the family had leveled serious charges against the Congress government at that point in time and had said that this was nothing but a political conspiracy that was hatched by the Congress.
See, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose was the liberator of India. He was the hero of Asia. It is the responsibility of the central government to resolve this issue. But you see, the Congress government, starting from Nehru's era, they did play politics. But now, if the NDA government declassifies the files, but doesn't take the case to its logical conclusion, then we would assume that NDA government has also played politics. But I feel Narendra Modi ji is very sincere in the efforts. That is the impression that the family and the people of this nation, they have received, they have got from the Prime Minister. And I am sure the Prime Minister will not let the nation down.
But sir, this response that has come in from the government of India at this point in time, that seems to be echoing exactly what the Congress government had concluded earlier. You are levelling serious charges against Jawaharlal Nehru and the Congress government, erstwhile Congress government, which had concluded that Netaji had died. But today the BJP government too is speaking exactly in the same language.
See, if you study the reply, obviously the person who has responded has not really taken a holistic approach to resolve this issue. It is not so simple. There are 70,000 pages of classified documents which are being declassified. The process is on. We have not seen the KGB files. You know, Justice Mukherjee, when he had gone to Moscow, he was told by the erstwhile KGB officials that if your Prime Minister writes to the Russian President, we might consider releasing the KGB files on Subhash Chandra Bose, if any. Justice Mukherjee came back to India and wrote to Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was the then Prime Minister of India. Dr. Manmohan Singh, I'm sorry to say, didn't even respond to Justice Mukherjee. But there is a change. There is a shift in the policy now. Sushma Swaraj ji has written to her counterpart in Moscow to find out if there are files on Subhash Chandra Bose. But that's not the end of the story. The special investigative team must fly to Moscow, armed with the letter of Sushma Swaraj, sit down with the erstwhile KGB officials, find out. You see, you need to decodify the files. Most intelligence files are in codified manner. So it is not so simple that you will look for Subhash Chandra Bose and the files would trickle out. It will not. You need to decodify the files to arrive at Subhash Chandra Bose. So the SIT has to work 24 hours with the team in Moscow to arrive at a conclusion. How can you just straight away write that he died in the air crash without any
conclusive evidence? So, sir, coming to that point, do you feel that the government of India, at this point in time, the government of India was premature to jump to a conclusion that Netaji died in the air crash before even examining the amount of material that is available on Netaji and the files which are there in other countries as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. At this juncture, it was a premature irresponsible statement by a government official who should be taken to task for misleading the nation on India's biggest cover-up, the mystery of the hero of Asia, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose.
So, also just one quick question here as we wrap up this bulletin, Mr. Bose. What next really? Because here we see that, as you say, that possibly the government of India jumped the gun. They came to a conclusion that Netaji died in the air crash. But what next then for the Bose family? And also, a section of your family members now seem to be quite happy because their stand seems to be vindicated. Some members of your family, including TMC MP Shugato Bose, they have maintained always that Netaji did die in the air crash and there was no mystery whatsoever.
Well, you see, as far as we are not concerned what family members feel. The majority of the family members, 50 members, feel there was no air crash. Shugato Bose has always taken the Congress line. So you must question Shugato why he takes the Congress line. If Shugato or any person comes up with a conclusive report on Subhash Bose's death, we are willing to accept. We are all logical people. But without any clinching evidence, how can we accept the plane crash theory? And the other thing I would like to quote, the RTI reply is quoting about the air crash from the Shahnawaz Committee report and the Khosla Commission report. And regarding Gumnami Baba is quoting the Justice Mukherjee Commission report, but suppressing the fact that Justice Mukherjee has stated that there was no air crash and the ashes at Renkoji temple belonged to Ichiro Okura and it was not of Subhash Chandra Bose. How dare this RTI reply suppress the final report? You see, why was Justice Commission formed?
Just one final question, Mr. Bose over here, one final question. Will you be seeking an appointment with the Prime Minister? Do you feel let down by the NDA government at this response, and will you be seeking an appointment with the Prime Minister on this?
Yes, we don't feel let down by Narendra Modi and the NDA government, but we are certainly very perturbed by this RTI reply by an irresponsible officer of the government. Now, that certainly should be taken into account, but we still have faith in Narendra Modi because he is the only person who would be able to, we feel, in independent India, crack India's biggest mystery, the disappearance of the liberator of India, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose.
Well, thank you so much, Chandra Kumar Bose, Chitra Ghosh, as well as Ardhindu Bose for joining us on this special broadcast here. Surely a Pandora's box has been opened once again over this RTI response, which claims that Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose died in the air crash. On that note, it's time to slip into a very short